Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Saturday, man. It's a beautiful, beautiful day today. I can't believe how pretty it is outside. Man, I hope it's good where you're at too. Man, so today we gonna talk about the concept of God, and we're gonna look at whether it's even useful at all. And I see it in many different ways from many different perspectives, but today I just wanted to kind of get everybody else's view on it. So it's going to be an open discussion. Hopefully we'll have folks able to call into the show and and we can discuss it, man. Maybe we can do a panel discussion and actually see why you may think the concept of God is useful, or if you think it's not very useful at all and maybe even more harmful at the end of the day, or if you think maybe a little bit of both, or if you have a little nuanced view, that's cool. But I'll just get my view kind of out there. Basically, for me, it seems like the belief in God can provide a framework for moral behavior. Like some people need God to do the right thing, because many people will view God as a source of moral authority, which is going to encourage values like compassion, honesty, self-sacrifice, and things like that. So you can look at like traditional figures in religion, say like Jesus Christ, who emphasizes love, forgiveness, care for others, things like that. But a lot of these traditional figures also have other teachings which can be argued that aren't so useful, because they maybe provide psychological comfort, like belief in a divine presence can help you cope with suffering, death, uncertainty, loss, things like that. Like a personal God can create a sense that life sort of has meaning and purpose, especially during like really bad hardships, negative things. And then, of course, we have community and identity. So religious belief will oftentimes be the foundation of, shared traditions and community. Organized religions, they oftentimes create social support networks, charity, like charitable institutions, maybe, and they give you cultural identity. And these structures can provide belonging and social stability and alleviate fears and existential threats of death and things like that. So the concept of God can answer like those deep philosophical questions, like why does anything exist at all? What is the purpose of life? What happens after death? For many people, belief in God provides a coherent story about reality. So the ways the God concept can be harmful is in the sense that they may justify authority or control. So like throughout history, religious claims about God have sometimes been used to justify power structures or suppress dissent, like political leaders or terrorist leaders or dictators. Institutions may claim like some sort of divine authority to legitimize decisions or discourage any kind of questioning. It's kind of a way to rally people behind you. And this is kind of where dogmatism comes in. So if a belief in God becomes rigid or unquestionable, it can actually discourage like things I think are virtuous, like critical thinking, scientific inquiry, philosophical inquiry, open debate. And history shows periods where religious authority resisted new knowledge. So it provides kind of like psychological dependency, or what I would call, spiritual dependency. And so belief in a personal God can encourage people to be weak, to rely on divine intervention instead of personal responsibility or problem solving. They need to really just put their big boy britches on and face reality on its own terms, rather than trying to make up imaginary people in the sky that are there to help you. That's one way it can be a way of spiritual dependency. And then you look at like the conflict between groups, like different conceptions of God, exist across different religions. They have contributed a lot to like conflict and division between communities. Look at the conflict between Iran and Israel right now. Iran, if you destroy any of their holy sites, Muslims will be, triggered into activation, to go to war, to be a martyr. And a lot of these religious people and religious leaders don't see value of life because, their reward is in heaven. It's more important that you fight for the God than not. Same with Zionists and people like that. They have an agenda, and it's God's agenda. Their concept of God is to bring the Mashiach, the Messiah, and they're just waiting for that conflict. It's going to trigger the apocalypse. That's what they want. And here in the West, a lot of Christians go for that sort of eschatological story. It's like the story of the end of the world. That's the religion gives you all of that. It gives you the reason why it exists, your purpose in life, and what's gonna happen in the future. And a lot of these religious texts are based on God's return, the defeat of the infidels, and the ushering in of a golden age here on earth for God's plan. And everybody has their role within that plan. And so while they may see that as very useful, people who are not on board with that kind of stuff see this as insanity. They'll see that as a way to, justify war, and that's never good. Hey, Joel, how are you doing, sir? And hello, Dave, how are you doing? Yeah, so, that's kind of where I'm at on that. So what I want to do is get more into it, maybe find some videos to react to, or mainly I just want to hear what you have to say. I see it both ways. I can see the positive and the negative. Ultimately, though, it can really lead to the end of this world, because if people really, the ones that are in power, the ones that, have their finger on the trigger, they're on the wise side of that firearm, they're going to use that I can't even pronounce the word this afternoon. I'm sorry. But they will see that as their reason to do that. You know what I mean? To go to war, which can end life as we know it. And I don't think that's a good thing, but obviously others disagree. So we're going to get right into it, guys. Yeah. So Dave wants to defend the view of God, I'm pretty sure. So let me bring him on board. Bring him on board. How you doing, Dave?
Hi, how you doing?
I think I'm muted or I can't hear anybody for some
Hello, testing.
reason.
Testing, one, two, three.
Hold on a second. I can't hear you.
Testing, one, two, three. Testing, one, two, three. Yoo-hoo. Okay.
Oh, I see. There we go. Hey, Dave, are you still there? No, Dave dropped out. Oh, well, I know Dave had to, he was going to have to leave around noon anyways. I think he just probably popped in to say hello. But, yeah, sorry you couldn't stay, Dave, man. I was looking forward to hearing your views on the matter, man. Oh, he says, I'm restarting. Yeah, come on back, man. Come on back. Here we go. I think you're jumping back in.
Hello, can you hear
Hey,
me?
I can hear you now, man. That was on my end. How you doing today, brother?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good. I'm doing very well. Yes. I've been sipping tea and listening to you start up the show and having a great time.
Cool, man. Glad you enjoyed it. So, like, what do you think? Like, I think that the concept of God can be helpful because it provides meaning, moral guidance, psychological, spiritual support, but it can also be harmful when it leads to dogmatism, dependency, or the misuse of authority. What do you think?
I agree entirely with you. That's going to be a problem with us. The problem between you and I is we basically agree. And exactly, I find God to be a very useful thing in my life, a very useful tool, actually. I think it's what I call that qualia, that feeling I have, that sense of awe around me, that mystery, that interaction I see in the world. Um, yeah, I definitely like the concept of God, especially when it's kind of Spinozian and Descartes and Thomas Paine. Yeah. So I like the deist point of view kind of coupled to the pantheistic point or panentheistic point of view. So yeah, I find it very useful. It helps me every day to see the beauty in our world.
Now, here's a little twist, and maybe this will be something. I put up a video where I called into the Talk Heathen, pretending to be a Christian. And some people believe that qualia is nonsense. So when you think about beliefs about God, and you had mentioned that would explain qualia or is part of qualia, I think you said.
Well, I look at God as a tautology. It's it's only God if you call it God. Okay, if you don't call your internal feelings as God, then it's not. Um, God is in my opinion, is a tautology of at least four elements. The first element is the ability to have an inner voice that can help you make decisions that allow you to wrestle with a choice for a while and follow through, along with all the other feelings that we have. It's got to be practical. I mean, God is a practical thing, just like truth has to be practical. And then you got to call it God. If it's not God, if you don't call it God, it's not God. I mean, it's yourself. It's your own feelings. It's whatever you call it. And then it can have a secondary value. And the secondary value or the secondary definition is the one that everybody gets hung up on. So, I agree. But do you see that what I'm saying here is there's a pattern in the way we think of things. We go from a basic feeling, a basic understanding of our world around us, through an analytical or conscious process, and then we go through a feeling process as well. We go through all of these things at the same kind of time, and we can call that inner voice, that feeling, whatever it is, God if we want to. And it helps us each. At least we think it helps us each. Depends how confusing it is. And then the secondary definition. Do you see what I'm saying?
I understand perfectly. So to that point, there's a philosopher, he recently passed away last year.
Oh.
His name was Daniel Dennett. Are you familiar with that person?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So Daniel Dennett was a philosopher of mind, and he would say that things like qualia are private, they're directly known, and or he says that people claim that qualia are private, directly known, and cannot be mistaken. So Dennett argues that experiments show that all three of these assumptions fail. And that's the core argument in his his famous paper, Acquiring Qualia. He made a paper a while back.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And basically what he's saying is that qualia is kind of an illusion, and because it's based on introspection. And we know that introspection is unreliable. So if you're believing in things that rely on introspection, like God, then it can be harmful, because you're basically feeding into bullshit. What do you think about that argument?
Well, I can agree with it. It is not. It is not an exclusive thing. The simple fact that you have some form of inner feeling that helps you tend towards one particular direction, or you can argue with your default reaction to something, can be called anything you want, and you don't have to call it God. There's no reason to. Atheism is just as legitimate as theism. There's no
or illegitimate.
Or illegitimate. Yes.
Here's the thing. Daniel Dennett coined a term called heterophenomenology. I can never get that word right. Heterophenomenology.
Okay.
And what that really means is that people's report about their experiences and beliefs as data will need interpretation, not just automatic true descriptions of reality. So, but my question is, how would it then apply to atheism? So using heterophenomenology, a researcher would treat an atheist statement like, there is no God, religious experiences are just brain states, people feel God's presence because of psychology, as reported beliefs, not immediately accepted facts, right?
Yes.
But this method would analyze things like why the person holds those beliefs, what experience might have shaped them, what psychological mechanisms fed into its social environment. So a heterophenomenologist would ask, why does this person report believing atheism is true? If the same applies for belief in God, then if you're consistent and honest, you should apply that same criteria to atheism. And so it kind of leaves you with kind of like asking, well, if self-reports are unreliable, then how do you know those are unreliable without self-reports?
I disagree with you.
Yeah, self-refuting.
Yeah, so I disagree with you now. Okay, because your statement, if I could repeat exactly what you said, I could show you through the words that you said that you were asking a question that either had a right answer or a wrong answer, a yes or a no. And that requires you to be in one state or a monism. I use the word datum to allow for variations of things. I know some things and I believe in other things and I hope for yet a third set of things. I have a scaling capability that is not available in a monism. By using a dualism, I can have a scaling capability and say, maybe I get to learn. I get to look at the variations that occur and not disagree with them, but say, I'll take it with a grain of salt, or I can modify it. A datum gives me a ability to have a spectrum. So I can say, well, part of what you're saying is wrong, but a lot of what you're saying is right, and operate in that fashion. So I find the whole notion of monism to be, well, I've matured in the last few months. I've gone from originally a monist to truly a dualist. And I use the word datum to describe what one sees as the accumulation of information that they use to base their statements on. Okay,
So the datum that you're referring to, just to be clear, you're saying that the datum is primary experience or consciousness?
A datum is a scaling factor. It is a coordinate system. It is a rule. It's a measuring tape. It's a reference system. It's anything.
How do you measure that without outside of introspection?
I can measure it outside of introspection because I can see your reactions, and I can feed that intersubjective qualia, that intersubjective space, with new information. So I can see it as objective, objective information.
Right, but you just described what introspection is.
Yeah, and I can accept it.
That you're doing introspection. So you're saying that I can know, basically what you're saying is I know what's true outside of introspection by doing introspection.
Yes, I can say
that's a contradiction.
No, I get hungry, and I know that I get hungry, and because I know that I get hungry, because I know I age, I have a datum of natural existence that reinforces a focal point. And then I can tie a string to that focal point and try to go to where I think you're talking from, which is not necessarily natural, not necessarily confined by the second law of thermodynamics and chaos and stuff like that, but is more of the mind. And I can accept that as a thing that is actually operates. This is an XY plane where one of the x-axis is nature, and I accept that, and then I see your mind drifting away from that. So I see that as the y-axis.
Let me ask you this.
Both of them.
You mentioned focal points, right?
Yeah.
Do focal points emerge within the processes of introspection?
Yes. There's
right.
Things I know, and then there's things I believe. There are two things.
So you know things outside of introspection because of focal points that emerge within introspection.
If you want, yeah, but that's trivial. I mean, I get fed and I get satisfied, and that I get that experience several times a day for my entire life. So it becomes irrelevant whether or not introspection is there or not. The accumulation of data is so grand for the objective that I don't need to say that, gee, this all happens to be contained in my hypothalamus, so my executive function can analyze it.
So how do you analyze stuff outside of your consciousness?
I don't need to.
So how
my consciousness accepts that there's things outside of my consciousness. Simply, it's because my consciousness uses the rest of my brain and body. I am a body. I am a person. I'm an animal, and my brain is simply an organ in that animal.
And all of that appears in your consciousness, right?
Well, more or less. That's the part that the overt consciousness, the ability to choose, the what we're using right here in this conversation is a form of consciousness that is only one aspect of it. But if you tap me on the knee with a hammer, like they do in the doctor's office, my leg will jerk, right? I mean, and I will see that. And that will happen outside of my consciousness, and then I'll feel it. So I actually have both those things. I have the outside world and the inside world. And I trust the information that I have accumulated in the inside world because I have a lot of confirming information about it.
And those, oh, I get it. So you went outside of your consciousness to confirm those things that kind of were consistent with your consciousness. So then you were able to sort of tie it all together. So you were able
Exactly.
to say, so you're able to say, I see a tree, but it's in my head, but I'm going to go ahead and confirm that it's not just in my head by doing tests and observations and stuff like that. And then that sort of confirms that your consciousness was telling you the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I see. So let me ask you this. How did you do that? How did you get out of your consciousness to do that observation? How did you observe things outside of your consciousness to do that?
I accumulated information that I could write down and I could verify.
But you're just, I understand that. That's what you said you did. I'm saying, how did you do that outside of your consciousness? How did you observe? How did you observe anything outside of your experience?
I don't know. I just my limbic system channeled information to me. My optic nerve, my optical cortex transmitted the information for me. I know that a lot of my mind is filled with passion, with David Hume's kind of things. So I can say that I must be operating out of my consciousness, or my body is reacting outside of my knowledge.
See, that's the only problem I have with dualism, is that for me, it seems like a big gap there, because everything I know, whether it's an observation or an introspection that emerges, or if it's a prediction or whatever, it's all because I understand it through the only medium I have to know anything, which is a conscious experience. So I'm always, for me, it seems a little bit of a faith to say that I'm able to get out of my mind to see reality as it really is in order to verify things that my consciousness maybe guess what it is. Like if I look out my window and see a house, I say, well, am I really looking outside is my mind playing tricks on me? Am I really seeing a house outside the window? Well, let's test it. Let's get out of my head. Let me just go outside and check it. Oh, there's the house. It's not just in my head. Here it is. I'm touching it. I'm feeling it. There. But see, that doesn't work for me, because even if I go outside of my house to verify the other house that I saw through the window,
yes,
I'm still using my consciousness to perceive anything, even outside the window or inside. It's like it's all happening in that one experience. But that's kind of getting off the point, to be honest with you. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole with you. I guess I was just trying to challenge you for what.
No, wait, I do have an answer. I do have a quick answer. Okay, and I'm going to say it's how we have survived. It's our evolution. I feel that the animal has evolved in such a way as to promote its own survival, um, and the survival of whatever else it needs to have good survival. There's two major strategies, and we both know this, but that evolutionary process has filtered out the mistaken notions. In other words, if your brain told you that there is no house out there, and you're looking out of it, and it's really there, then you may get eliminated from the gene pool. You may not be able to in fact act. I trust in the billions of years of evolution. Actually, the last 600 million is enough for me to really be kind of happy with it. And I feel that I have pre-honed capabilities that will give me valid information so that I can survive.
Yeah, like I understand that there's an objective reality outside of our conscious experience. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that everything you know about reality, about this outside world, is based on a perception.
Yeah.
And when you perceive things, you have what evolution, at least according to the story of evolution gives you fitness payoffs. So our perceptions, within that framework, perceptions plays a role. So our perceptions are not necessarily to know the truth or the entire story about reality, but it's basically for those fitness payoffs so that you survive and procreate and stuff like that within that framework, which I'm all fine with. It's a perfectly valid story. But I don't know how that makes belief in God true. Like, just because we know or we see the advantage of belief in evolution, and it's a good story, it makes sense, it explains a lot, but so does the God story. So someone would say, well, when you're believing in God, it's different because God is imaginary. God, unlike evolution is something you can test for. There's an intersubjective agreement. Like, we all look at the sky and see the moon and see the sun, and we all can agree that this is an intersubjective reality that we all share. But God, on the other hand, is just an imaginary thing. Not everybody sees the same God, like we all see the same moon. In other words, like when it comes to God, usually people, when they want to prove God, they'll use arguments, like philosophical or logical arguments, like say the Kalam cosmological argument, or the fine-tuning argument, or the teleological argument, or the moral argument, and all these different arguments. You don't need such arguments to prove that the sun is in the sky. All we have to do is get together and look in the sky, and we all agree in our experience that saying that the sun is in the sky is valid. And so some people would say, well, God doesn't fit that same story like the sun, the moon, and the stars, because people disagree about God. Some people think God is Jesus Christ. Some people think Jesus Christ is God. Some people feel he's divine. It's all like a relationship that they have with that concept.
Again, you use the word one or the other. Again, you're looking at, it has to be right or wrong. Okay.
Right.
And
well,
I'm
not saying that. I'm saying that's what people say.
Yeah, that's what people say.
That's what I'm asking you is, like, how do you answer those people that would say that would say, look, Dave, I understand that you believe in a pantheistic God or something like that. Say, how can we all verify that? Like, you can say, well, like they'll say, I can look at the sun, and you can just say, like somebody might say, well, Dave, how do you know the sun is in the sky? You'll say, all you got to do is come out at 7 in the morning and look in the sky with me. Then you go out there and you look at it. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. And
Why verify it?
But you
Why
can't,
verify it?
huh?
Why verify it?
Because people want to know why they should believe in it. Like, how is it useful? Like, first of all, they want to know, is it true? Is it real? Or is this imaginary? And if it is imaginary, what's the usefulness of it? And if it really is a true concrete fact of reality, number one, how can I know it is? And then how is that useful?
I see what you're saying. But again, if we go back to the way the brain evolved and we take a look at how it is, Dr. Sapolsky said that the size of the frontal cortex and the size of the society are correlate. Basically, the larger the frontal cortex or prefrontal cortex, I'm not really sure of the part of the brain. I could be completely wrong, but the bigger that is, the larger the society can be. We have evolved a method we have evolved the ability to have a large society that can, in fact, minimize suffering, hopefully, and hopefully minimize conflict.
So the size of societies reflect the size of the brain?
Yeah. Dr. Sapolsky says the size of the prefrontal cortex correlates to the ability to the size of the society that can be established with that animal type. Yeah, in mammals.
Okay, and how does that prove God again?
Again, it doesn't really prove God, but God doesn't need proving. Okay, in the dualism, there's no real there's no need to prove the God. It's simply need to prove that your thoughts can help you. That's all you need to prove, is that your thoughts can help you. And the way you label the thoughts that help you
when you say that,
God.
So how does right? So you're saying that concept of God is a product of a bigger prefrontal cortex.
Well, I'm saying the ability to think abstractly is a product of that prefrontal cortex.
So God is an abstraction, and because we're able to abstract things like gods, devils, angels, and things like that, that makes God useful. I get that. So how is God useful?
It's a wonderful thing for me to express my gratitude for the beautiful world around me. It allows me to have a conversation that helps me work through several choices or possibilities of things or straighten out a possible truth. It gives me hope. It gives, even when the hope is ridiculous, absurd, when the hope is absurd, it still gives me that hope.
And I guess that's kind of what's sad with atheists is because they don't believe in God. Of course, they wouldn't have those things. So I wonder, why don't they believe in God? It's like they don't have purpose, meaning in those things because they don't believe in God. So
that's the monism part.
How would you help them?
That's the monism part. That's the point where monism harms, because you need an answer, yay or nay. That whenever you need an answer, yes or no, it's monism you're dealing with. And again, you're dealing with something that breaks. Monisms don't work. And the reason why they don't work is they always degenerate to some form of a single point. They always generate to a dot or a circle or something that is not useful. Meanwhile, the mother still remembers to ask, "Are you hungry?" Okay,
so you're saying monism is basically just black and white thinking.
Right, exactly. It is just black and white thinking.
Where are you getting that from?
Because I'm getting that from the way theologies have always behaved, the way our civilization has always behaved, from the fact that Jews don't like Christians or Islam, and Churchianity doesn't like Jews or Islam, and Islam doesn't like Churchianity or Jews. They all are divisive and isolationist, and they're all have to be right versus everyone else. Meanwhile, the entire eastern half of the planet is forgotten by that philosophy, not even mentioned. So I see that in almost every decision that has to be black or white when it comes to things that are not physical.
So dualism does not entail black and white thinking.
Right. Dualism always has a spectrum.
Okay, but dualism in philosophy says that reality is made up of only two fundamental different kind of stuff. There's there's the mind and the body.
Yeah.
There's two kind of substances, like under, say, substance dualism.
Okay.
So dualism is a metaphysical claim that, nature is both, that it's two things. Whereas black and white thinking is like a cognitive bias where people interpret, like situations or ideas or experiences in some extreme, mutually exclusive category, like good versus evil, success versus failure. Now, monism doesn't necessarily say that, at least within philosophy. I'm not sure where you're getting that point. Like monism is basically it might encourage dichotomies. For example, like a system that emphasizes like true versus fault or right versus wrong, a central organizing concept could like bias thinking towards those sort of extremes. But monism itself is a framework for organizing thought, not really as a rule about how to interpret all situations. Like a person can adopt monism in a nuanced way and still recognize like gradients, probabilities, or spectra. So I guess that's why I never really push back on it, because it really just depends on how you're defining it. There's nuanced ways to define it, but if you're defining monism in that way, far be it for me to disagree, because everyone has a right to word usage, But yes. So you're saying, so back to the God situation, though.
Well, give me a second.
But you're saying it can be both. It can be good. The God concept can be useful. It can also be taken out of. It can be taken the wrong way, I guess. So you're not really dichotomous. You're just saying it can be both, just like me.
Yeah, I'm saying it can be both. Yeah, essentially, we always agree. I mean, that is the point. But that is a point. But if we and the two sources of monism that are effectively there are the analogy in the cave by Plato and the first two commandments from Mount Sinai for Judaism. Those are the first two sources.
You're talking about monotheism. Okay.
And monism. Monism is the analogy in the cave, where monotheism is from Judaism. Monism in the cave shows how information can be misinterpreted, okay, in the basic story, but it also shows how you can deceive somebody if you want to. Okay, because everything's in the head.
Is the allegory of the cave?
Yeah, the allegory in the cave by Plato.
I just don't know where you're getting that.
Well, the allegory in the cave.
I know what the allegory of the cave is, like from the Republic. Plato's cave describes like the prisoners who see shadows in the wall and then mistakes them for reality. So one prisoner escapes, sees the true world, and then shows that the shadows were only appearances. I think that's how the story goes, right?
Well, so it also says that he can't interpret, that he can't accurately give information to other people and have them see it the same way he does.
Right. The analogy illustrates like perceived reality versus ultimate reality.
Right.
So how is that monism?
Because that's all there is in this story. Because it's all in your head, because everything that you're being told is abstract. Okay, so you have no basis for any variation. You also have no information about what came before or after in the story. So it degenerates to a black and white situation of either you get it or you don't, in each case, without understanding physical needs or where the prisoners came from or how they're going to or how they will react at all. So that is the basis of monism, and monotheism comes out of Judaism, and both of those things work very well together to make a lot of people in this world black and white in their choice process, in their choosing process.
See, for me, that's how I apply non-dualism. See, that's non-dualism would say that we reject dichotomous thinking.
Yes, and I agree with that. Now, by the way, in each person that has the ability to take their monism and think of it in a way that is in fact dualistic would show that there is another point that they're using. They're using 2 points at least. So they have their monism, whichever it is, and then they have what they know to be right or wrong. And they apply that. A perfect example of a dualism is the separation of church and state and Christianity. The original notions of this country, the United States, along with Christianity, makes a dualism if the two are separate. It makes a monism if they're not separate.
Yeah, see, when I look up monism, like I was studying that stuff this week about monism and stuff again, because I always look into it.
Yeah.
And monism allows for a non-dual view of reality. And in fact, many forms of monism are precisely what philosophers in the spiritual traditions mean by non-dual. So here's a little breakdown, right? Like what I found out is that monism holds that all of reality is ultimately one substance, principle, or essence. That very claim eliminates the fundamental duality of mind versus matter, spirit versus body, good versus evil. A non-dual view simply emphasizes that distinctions we perceive are just apparent or provisional. They're not ultimate. So in physicalist monism, for example, everything is ultimately matter and energy. So mind, consciousness, and social reality are manifestations of that same underlying reality. Just like in idealism, except that in idealist monism, everything is ultimately consciousness. So matter, objects, and experiences are the same thing. They're appearances within consciousness instead of matter. So in both cases, reality is non-dual at the foundational level. So if you contrast monism with dualism, dualism inherently requires two kinds of fundamental stuff: mind versus matter, spirit versus body. Monism removes this separation. So non-duality is essentially built into monism. There is only one ultimate reality, and any apparent duality is a derivative.
May I say something?
Yep.
Okay, you said, go back to what you literally said just now, what a dualism is. Okay,
so dualism
and change the word versus to and.
Mind and matter, spirit and body, but they're two different things.
Right.
In dualism, they're two different things altogether. The mind is a different substance than the body.
Yes.
The spirit the only is thing not the physical flesh.
And we totally agree, except for the word and or the word versus. I'm simply taking the word versus out and trying to put the word and in.
Well, either way, from what I'm reading, mind and body are two different things altogether. They're two categories.
Right.
That's dualism.
Yes.
Monism says they're not two different things. They're all aspects of the same one structure. So there is no dichotomy in monism. That's only a product of dualism.
That's
So,
right.
like, for example, if we go back to, say, the Advaita Vedanta, like Hindu philosophy, which is strongly non-dual, they assert that Brahman, which is the ultimate reality, is the only true existence. And then the distinctions in the world are called Maya. And then you can see the same thing in Spinoza, right? Like, he's a pantheist, in fact, and he says that God or nature is the single substance with mind and body as modes of that substance. Then you've got physicalist monism, which is a more recent thing. Mind and matter are manifestations of the same physical reality. No separate mental realm exists at all. All of these are non-dual monisms in different flavors. So,
Wait a second. No, I disagree.
well, I mean, I'm just telling you what the definitions are.
Well,
I understand you disagree. I'm just saying that if we go by the definitions, that's what it's going to tell you.
Yeah, but I'm going back to like your definition of Buddhism. Okay, your
You mean
definition of
Hindu?
Buddhism doesn't include how a Buddhist transmits the information
No,
correctly
that's
via
Hindu.
Buddhism.
No, Hinduism. Hindu. Buddhism
Yeah,
is different.
Hinduism.
Buddhism is a Buddhism. Well, Buddhism sort of says the same thing. It would say, it would reject like the self and the soul for anatta. But I was specifically referring to the Advaita Vedanta, which asserts Brahman, and Brahman is the ultimate reality and is the only true existence. And all the distinctions in the world, those are illusion or Maya.
Yes, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but I want to add to that, because when you're going back into the Upanishads, I want to add to that how that information is transmitted from person to person, because there's a correct way of doing it because of the natural dharmas. Okay, and the natural dharmas require that one follow the Four Noble Truths and follows the Eightfold Path and gets their feeding from the people they teach, and then they move on. They only own a bowl. That's all they own, is a bowl and a robe, and that's about it. Okay, that's a very important point, that they never take on possessions, and they have to move from town to town teaching. In other words, it's like a family. It's like a mother saying, let's talk about consciousness after dinner. And all of a sudden it's a dualism.
Well, when I'm referring to dualism, we have to make sure we're clear. I'm talking about metaphysical, not just appearance wise. Like, I agree that we live in an apparent dualistic world. Like, I'm talking to you, I'm not talking to myself, for example.
But the point is that the point of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, the point of all the stuff in the Upanishads, for all the various religions in the Upanishads, from Vedism all the way to Buddhism, which includes Hinduism in there, and Jainism, all of those, they all come back to the basic idea that there is a dualistic attitude that should be taken, and there has to be this grain of salt in all of these things, and karma will play its part. And that makes it a dualism. Now, it's obviously it's apparent because we see it. We both see it. But the philosophy is underlying for the individual, not for the object. It is how you behave rather than what you must believe. There's a total difference. There's a big difference in the two. Yeah,
can somebody believe something that's not true and it's still useful?
Yeah.
And vice versa?
Yeah. I wouldn't blame a person who's laying on a table, getting ready to go into to get their head cut off by a guillotine, praying that the blade will miss their head. There's nothing wrong with that.
But if
Okay,
but if somebody believes something that's not true, how is that good?
it comforts them for the duration. It gives them hope. It gives them the possibility of looking for alternatives. Okay, so the person who's laying on the guillotine table can live with themselves for hopefully eternity, and at least until the blade gets all the way down, if the blade isn't even coming down. Perhaps the blade won't come down.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives that hope. It gives that relief that person needs. So it becomes very useful.
Okay.
And it's the combination of those things that that person can see as a god if they want to.
So like we talked a little bit about evolution before. Like some would say that we evolved to believe in God. Is that part of what makes it useful, you would say?
We evolved to have abstract thinking capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
and that allows for the believing in God, and that is a function of how large our frontal cortex is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's a great thing. That's a wonderful thing. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both.
Interesting. I don't know where to go with after that.
Well, take a look at Confucius. He did the same thing. Confucius went from court to court trying to get a job, literally, to teach and advise the administrators. The only thing he owned was a bowl and a coat, and he died without having written a single word. His first level of students wrote the Analects by Confucius, the Confucian Analects. That's who actually wrote it. But his faith in the hope that he could find a job kept him going. So he had that faith.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was the feeding that they were looking for. So again, the dualism is the thing that plays out well.
Uh-huh.
Plays out.
Yeah. See, that's a very interesting point you raised, Dave, because a lot of people equate truth with usefulness. And then a lot of people, and I'm not talking for myself, I'm just saying a lot of people, whenever I say that, don't think that I'm talking for myself. I'm talking about.
Yes. No, I understand.
Yeah. So other people might say that, well, I want to believe more true things than false things. But sometimes believing in false things can be very useful. And so these people are sort of maybe limiting themselves from tools they have at their disposal that could be very useful. Especially like it's very easy to sort of say, I don't believe in God because it's bullshit. I don't believe in afterlives because it's bullshit. But then as soon as they get on an airplane and the airplane starts to, come into question whether it's going to crash or not, all of a sudden they don't have any beliefs. So they always, that saying, there are no atheists in foxholes, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people would say then that's why atheists always turn to God whenever there's a big problem. Like they're all fun. It's all fun and games until you get in an airplane and start crashing. Then all of a sudden you become an atheist. Do you think that's true?
Well, I think you were saying when the airplane is crashing, you become a theist, right? Everyone
Yeah,
in
they
a
become
foxhole believes
atheists
in
at the
God.
last minute
There are
because they
no there
have
are no
fear.
atheists in a foxhole, right?
There are no atheists in a foxhole. That's right.
And there's no atheists in a crashing plane either.
Yeah.
Okay, which makes sense, and I have no problem with that because their mind is trying to grapple with the problems at hand and give them a way out, give the whole animal a way out. And any hope, any abstract thought may be comforting in that under those scenarios. So it is always important to have some kind of thinking process that helps you survive, essentially. And with a large frontal cortex, we can do it in a large group. So if we act as a large group, we can believe that, hey, if we help this part of the group and then help this part of the group, perhaps that part of the group will help me when I need the help.
Well, some people would say that's not very satisfying because you're basically saying that it's just like a psychological crutch.
Yeah, but if you're listening to that baby whining and crying because you haven't fed it, it's not quite a psychological crutch. It's no sleep, isn't it, for that mother?
No, I mean in terms of God.
Yes, and I'm going back to that. And I'm saying that that fulfillment of that infant being fed will give you that experience of quality of thought that can be interpreted as God or not. It doesn't really matter. Okay.
Is it possible? Is it possible to transcend beliefs for comfort
Maybe,
and learn how to just accept reality on its own terms?
maybe, but if you accept reality only on its own terms, um, then do you have anything more than robotics? And
Say
if
that
you only and if you only accept reality on its own terms, do you have anything other than practicality?
like right, like you may say like I believe in the afterlife because I don't want I want to believe that when my mom dies, she goes to heaven. I don't want to think that when she dies, she just becomes worm food.
Sure.
And the same with myself. And so the day she dies and I go to the funeral, I can have comfort knowing that she's in heaven with Jesus, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And some would say, well, that's the practical usefulness of God beliefs and things like that, the abstract thinking. But
And
then
that
some
is
other people would say, well, there's another way you can achieve it. You can just get used to the idea that we all die, there is no afterlife, and it's okay. And
so
some
the
people, like Buddhists, for example, they dedicate their lives to unattachment to such beliefs, and they transcend those beliefs. They kind of disassociate from having to be anchored into comforting beliefs, and they learn to accept discomfort. They learn to diffuse discomfort through embracing it.
exactly my point of the dualism. Exactly my point of the dualism. Yes, Buddhism is very good for spirituality and internal thought and belief, and regardless of what you call it, it gives you ability to have a minimalistic attitude that both has enough practicality in it to keep you alive and a very spiritual and fulfilling existence moment to moment. That's the value of it. Exactly. And true atheism, or that atheistic attitude, leads to a purely practicality. Hence, why in our current society, 60% of the people are living paycheck to paycheck, while less than 1% control more than 95% of the wealth in the world, or some ridiculous value like that. I don't know what it is exactly. But that's exactly right, because if you adopt a purely practical point of view, then you can do anything to anyone. You have no constraints whatsoever. You have no need. You get to do whatever you can get away with because it's practical, right?
Okay. Now, Christianity does contain like dualistic elements, and some may say that it's not pure dualism, but I mean, I kind of think it was a dualistic religion, but you know, that's arguable. I won't really go there with you, but because part of it, many will claim, like especially Christian scholars will say that many passages in the New Testament suggested that salvation or eternal life is through faith in Jesus Christ alone. Like John, was it 14:6? I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me.
Well, I call that
very
Christianity.
dualistic. So it's very dualistic. You're either one or the other.
No, it's not, because the true dualism.
I'm not saying that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's what these Christian scholars say. So they'll say that some theologians will argue that God's mercy might allow the righteous non-believers to be rewarded, but faith in Jesus is usually taught as the one way to align with God. You can't have someone reject Jesus Christ and go to heaven. In fact, you can't even turn your back on the law, the law of Moses. If you don't practice the law of Moses, you won't go to heaven. Or you'll be considered least in the kingdom of God. Like it says, those who keep my laws are considered, the greatest in the kingdom, whereas those who don't keep my law will be considered the least. But so basically, Christianity strictly entails only explicit believers in Jesus are rewarded, at least traditionally and according to a lot of these people. Now, there's a lot of religions like universalists who would have a more non-dualistic way and say that, well, Jesus was speaking in metaphor, or that scripture was early church inspired in order to create cohesion and keep people in one way. And that's why the dualism was promoted that way. So I don't know. I guess you're saying that it's more of a non-dualistic way of teaching.
Actually, it's a monistic way of teaching. If you have to believe in, if justification by faith alone.
So you believe Christianity is monism?
Yeah, it's true monism.
Okay, so you're not a Christian.
No, I'm not a Christian. No.
Okay, so you do see Christianity as like a monism that's dualistic.
I see Christianity as a construct of two things. Mm-hmm. Okay, and those two things, it is a dualism internally by using that construct, but that construct is incredibly destructive toward everyone except those in control. It really is. It's a beautiful way. I mean, it's actual brilliance what the three original Greek philosophers that everybody knows about were able to accomplish by the application of Stoicism, a great method of confusion, or a great method of confusion with practicality, which are the two results of Stoicism. Yeah, so I definitely agree that that it is dualistic internally to some extent, but as soon as you say you get your concept, you receive your rewards after you die, you have forced in a complete monism and complete irreverence for the physical needs that we have.
Robin says, it's monotheistic, except it isn't because of the Trinity.
Right. Yeah, you can have all these ideas, but they all stay in your head. They all stay in your head. Nothing comes outside your head with them.
What do you mean by that?
I'm saying if you take the Creed of Nicaea, which is she's referring to, and you work with those first two words, I believe, if you take into account the what is it? The justification of faith, that came out of that, then there is no need to believe anything is real. And if you have that, then there's no need to pay attention to anyone else's needs because it's all in your head. Again, you end up in the same place, regardless of the fact that you can have different pieces of this same thought. Okay, this can spread out into all kinds of thought things, means that you're not paying attention to the rest of the animal.
Did you say Nicene Creed or the Council of Nicaea?
The Creed of Nicaea. It's the creed they came up with at the Council of Nicaea. Constantine came up with it in the year 325, I think.
So you're saying that the justification by faith was in the Nicene Creed?
No, that was later coined.
So the first Council of Nicaea framed Orthodox beliefs about God, Christ, and salvation, which later, I guess, reflected on the idea of faith. But you said that the Nicene Creed, 325 CE, did you mention that?
Yes,
okay,
I did.
So from what I remember, that affirmed belief in one God, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Right.
They declared that Jesus is fully God and fully human, 100% of all of those things.
Okay.
They were trying to combat, what do they call it? The Arianism, which was like denying the full divinity of Jesus that way. So it was primarily a statement of faith and orthodoxy, but not a full system of theology or salvation yet. Now, the justification by faith is like a doctrine, like what? Humans are made right with God, justified not by works alone, but by faith in Jesus. That was kind of like central in Pauline theology, like Romans 3:28. You know, for we hold that one is justified by faith apart from works of the law, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it was developed more fully during the Reformation. So that's why I'm kind of wondering what we're referring to exactly.
Yeah, the Reformation. Yeah, that's one of the words. Yeah.
Okay.
I have to look it up to get the wording exactly right. But
Gotcha.
Justification of faith, it's a Reformation doctrine. Of justification of faith by faith alone.
Yeah, I thought it was. I didn't know if that was in the Nicene Creed. I was like, wow, okay.
And that's a monism. That's a pure monism that doesn't touch on reality at all, which allows for either needs-based philosophy, which feels very nice. You get great feelings from that form of monism, or strict practicality, which makes you kind of brutal.
Right. And Robin mentioned that Reformation was the 1400s. That's what was throwing me off too, because the Nicene Creed was, you said 325,
right?
And then the Reformation
that was a complete religion in and of its own. Okay, there's no problem with that being the religion. You can also say that Peter and Paul's work was the religion, and then you can say that what Theodosius added to it, the need to actually force people into Christianity. Okay, heresy is effectively what it was also added to it. And the other half of it was Jesus himself with his Beatitudes, dollar-wise and penny foolish behavior.
So it was just ever evolving based on leaders and the biases and thoughts of those particular,
Christianity is a state religion. It's not a religion. It is a state-made device.
Religion, yeah.
It's a state-made device to get money out of people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jesus would have never gone through and said all this stuff that people say that Jesus said in the New Testament. What he would do is walk up to a person and ask them if they're hungry. He would walk up to a person and wash their feet if they needed it. He tried to help the people. He tried to comfort people. He didn't spend his time saying, gee, I'm this guy, I'm this guy. I've got these three parts, I am God. He didn't run around saying things like that. That's insane.
So you're kind of saying that maybe belief in God can be useful, but belief in these state-run religions are actually harmful. And so people maybe confuse the two.
Yes. And churchianity is what I call the state device religion used to confuse people. It's the lubricant of the mind to confuse people. And then you can tell them anything you want. If you tell them often enough and clearly enough, and you emphasize it enough, eventually they'll believe anything you tell them. And that way, you got 60% of the United States living paycheck to paycheck now. And in 1980, 69% of the United States was in the middle class. Now, that same way I measured it, which is totally wrong, it's less than 5%. Okay.
Robin says she's an atheist monist.
Well, cool if you want to be an atheist monist, but yeah, if that's what you want, fine. You can believe anything you want.
Mm-hmm. But and she also says, she agreed with you that it sounds like they're being conflated, like belief in God and organized state religion. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the conflation of Hellenistic philosophy and Judaism, which really is how it is. And if you take a look at the frequency of wars in Western civilization versus Eastern civilization, well, you can simply look at the fact that Western civilization has taken every continent except Asia, where China is, and India, and so forth. And those countries didn't leave their homes.
Robin says it isn't a belief. I'm not sure what she's referring to. Maybe monism, I guess. I don't know. Let me know, Robin, what you mean, because I'd like to expand on that. Yeah. But yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm getting so excited. I gotta calm down.
No, it's all good, man. I get excited too. And I so much so that I can get dragged into all these conversations because all of these topics are fun and I have a lot of passion for all of them. But I'm trying to keep it mainly towards the usefulness of belief in God. Like, so does anybody feel like God is a harmful belief? Like it's total, like it's never, there's nothing good about it. Like, are there any arguments for that? Or are there any arguments that belief in God is always good? Like, that
those are both extreme.
Well, if they'll say that if you don't believe in Jesus, then you can't go to heaven. And so if you can't go to heaven, then how is that useful? And Dave dropped. And Robin says, monism is the idea that reality is composed of one substance, such as matter. I agree. It is that. It's one substance type stuff. Not harmful, but not useful to believe in things that aren't true. Belief in hell is definitely harmful, though. But I think someone like a pantheist wouldn't even take something like hell seriously. But they're just talking about a God, like meaning a being that's in your corner in heaven looking out for you. So believing in false things isn't harmful. Right. That's what Dave was saying, is that you can believe in false things and it be good for you because of evolution. He was talking about that a little bit. How we evolved abstract thinking, which entailed ideas like God. And like Robin mentioned, the rustling bushes. If you believe that there was some scary monster behind the bush, you would avoid that rustling bush. But it might not be true. It might just be a product of the wind or something like that. But because you're able to infer that it may be possibly something dangerous behind the then you would live to tell about it. Whereas those who didn't believe anything and just saw the rustling bush and says the only thing that the rustling bush is evidence for is a rustling bush. And so they didn't care. But then out came the scary monster that ate them up like a lion or something. And so their unbelief didn't serve them. And Dave says, I can't get back in. Well, you're invited. Do you need the link again? There's the link. No need to apologize, my friend. If anybody else wants to call in, hit the link. I got it right here. And see what you think. Here comes Dave. Hey, Dave, you're back.
No, I just got it. Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to tell you I needed to leave because I.
Oh, okay. You got stuff to do. Uh-oh, yeah. Hello? You still with us, Dave?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. All right. So continue, please, if you were in the middle of saying some stuff. But you said you need to go anyways.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I'm in a position where I need to get some things done. My wife needs to leave on a jet plane, actually, leaving on a jet plane. Yes, tomorrow, and we got to get things ready for her trip.
Understand?
So I got to get that done.
Man, for coming through though and taking time with me.
Well, thank you for letting me talk on the show. You've been a wonderful friend, and
Absolutely,
I hope we can.
Man.
Yeah, hopefully we can work these problems out and figure out what the truth is and figure out how we should be ourselves.
I look at it. I take a very humble approach, Dave. I feel like I'm probably most likely wrong about everything. The only thing I really can't be wrong about is that I am having an experience of something. I just don't really know what it is. The only thing I can do is, infer to the best of my ability about things. But
that's why I go to the statement, nature is the datum of truth. I know nature is right, even if I can't perceive it correctly. And my wife is going to start divorce proceedings if I don't get off.
All right, man. You take it easy.
Have a great one.
And tell the wife I said hello. All right. And we have Robin. What's happening, Robin? Nice to see you.
Hey, Scott.
How's it going?
Was you going to shut down?
What's that?
I said, was you going to shut down?
No, I'm not shutting down. I just started. It feels like, even though I've been on for an hour and a half.
Well, I know, but like last week you did like 12 hours or something like that.
Oh man, for real. I can't do that again. Jesus Christ. What was I? I was insane.
I was like, I come on. I was like, I can't believe he's still on. What's he doing?
For real.
And I remember Sophia come in and she was like, y'all still going? What are you doing? Yeah, that was so funny.
I know, man. We just I tell you, I'm in it. I'm in it for the love of the game, man.
Yeah. It's addictive, sort of. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But what do you think? Do you think the God concept is more useful or more harmful?
I think it's probably useful to individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I think like as far as like what it is turned into this all this religion, these different religions and these different differences that seem to be people unable to, separate from the rest of the world and everything. I think it's net harm. Definitely. You know what I mean? Like when we're killing each other over whose imaginary friend is the right one, or then it's net harm. I mean, it's caused a lot of harm, but I'm sure it's brought people a lot of comfort,
utility.
Yeah, but I don't think that the utility is worth the harm.
Right,
the
right, right,
utility.
right, right. See,
'Cause,
that's
like,
what a lot of people kind of argue, because they'll say, well, you can say that belief in God is innocent enough, but if you think about it, there would be none of these religious wars if there were no beliefs in gods to begin with. And so they may appeal to
yeah,
that.
yeah, but we'd find something to fight over probably.
Yeah.
I mean, like, because really, um, it comes down to the religious wars are not really over the gods anyway. They're over resources and
Mm-hmm.
tribalism and stuff, and even chimpanzees. You know, our closest relatives in the animal kingdom do these fights.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as we know, they don't believe in gods. There is a little bit of evidence to show that maybe they do believe in some. Some of them may have a belief in something, some sort of agency, though. There's been some like studies, and there was like one chimp I think that was filmed one time. Like the lightning hit or thunder or whatever, and the chimp
Mm-hmm.
rolled his fist up in the air, and shook his fist at the sky. So, I mean, like, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they believe in gods. But I think that our belief in some sort of agency in the sky probably came out of similar events to begin with, and then religion started pretty much as animism or whatever, animism.
Mm-hmm.
We started assigning agency to like trees and animals and things, and thinking that they had sort of spirits, because I guess they must have been really scary to have been alive at that time and not understand where your mate went or your children.
Oh yeah, because you imagine the world is if you really look at it, the world is a very mysterious place.
Yeah. And you spend, which they didn't have really long life, spans, but you spend so many years with somebody, and even before language evolved, though, they obviously worked together in some sort of method, in small groups, of course, but and then just for that person to just stop moving, and you got to wonder where they went.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why
And it
when
goes.
people say that God used evolution, um, like, I appreciate that they accept evolution and everything, but the thought of a loving God using something like evolution to bring about mankind is horrific.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, there's so much suffering. It's like, it's just it's the whole system is embedded with suffering.
Well, it's kind of like it's an unfortunate sort of determination in being human. Like, like there's these sites like the Pit of Bones in Spain, where there were like remains of like what 28 individual hominins, right? And along with their bones, there's like manufactured hand axes, and this is like 430,000 years old. And so there appears to be like intentional burials, like
Yeah.
deliberate, burials of the dead, and the associated hand axe may have been deposited as like a symbolic offering, is what they say, rather than just like a functional tool. So it's sort of like signaled a form of ritual or symbolic behavior. And the implications of that are pretty profound, because it says that like if early hominins were really engaging in symbolic, sort of deposition of the dead along with tools, this sort of like says that, there was awareness not only of death, but of some social or existential meaning beyond immediate survival. And so this stuff kind of points to that abstract thinking long time ago And so you could kind of derive from that, like there's an impulse towards spiritual or existential meaning that appears embedded in humanity or even pre-humanity. And so if you scale far earlier than, say, like agricultural writing or civilization, you can see it. And these early symbols acts, you know, sort of suggest like a cognitive architecture,
There
which
is
means
there
memory,
is
reverence goes,
yeah.
you know, takes shape. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there is though tribes that don't have any concept of like I can't think of the tribe what it is, but
If you find out, let me know, because I'm looking for that.
Oh, well, I think if you Google it, I think it tells you there's a tribe that for sure that we've found that has no concept of God. They don't even have like a concept of it. So I don't know what they believe about death, but they have no concept of God. And I can't remember, maybe somebody out there in the audience can remember what they're called. I'm on my phone instead of my computer.
Yeah, I'm on my computer. I'm looking for it right now. Let's see what I can find out. Oh, okay. Yeah, there are cultures that don't have a concept of God. Anthropologists and scholars of religion has documented actually several examples. So Western thinking assumes a God is like a personal supernatural being, creator, object of worship, devotion, but many societies don't frame the world in that way. The examples are animist or spirit-focused cultures. So many hunter-gatherers or small-scale societies focus on spirits, ancestors, or forces in nature rather than a god.
Yeah, well, that's like your Native Americans.
Yeah, the pagan stuff. Yeah, like some indigenous American, North American, and Australian groups emphasize ancestor spirits and never gods.
Yeah.
And that structure of reality emphasizes nature, not on gods who intervene personally. So they're sort of like non-theistic. So there's also Buddhism. Like that's one good example I didn't even think about. Like Buddhism doesn't posit a creator god. African and Native. Yeah,
there is a tribe. I can't remember what the name is that really has no concept of God at all, and I don't even think they have animism in their culture.
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, I'm looking for like none of that. I'm looking for a society that, you know, because Buddhism fits that though. Buddhism doesn't believe in animism and all that either, spirits and souls. That's the only one I know about. Other ones, they may not believe in God, but they do believe in like higher self or cosmic forces, principles of pattern in nature, but never personal gods. But that's not really what we're talking about. So I'm not sure, but I think X Music says,
I'm looking it up. Para.
Yeah, Para tribe doesn't focus on spirits. They do regularly see the gray people in the forest, but have no belief around that at all. Paraha also had no names for numbers, just quantity words like small, medium, large. Okay, that's interesting. Interesting stuff. And they get along just fine. Are they still in existence today, or did they die off?
Well, I'm going to say, let's say, it says that they are a hunter-gatherer group living in the Mossy River. So I'm guessing that means that they're still alive.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, because it says they are. It doesn't say they were. So,
and X Music says they're westernized now.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we probably had, we had to send missionaries to them. Yeah, because like
someone had to go to those natives and organize them, right?
What was that? There was that one like tribal leader that they burnt at the stake, and they, or whatever, and they told him about God, and he said, well, what would have happened if you hadn't told me? And then they said, well, you would have, you would have went to heaven because you didn't know. And he said, well, why did you tell me? You know what I mean? Like, which to me makes a lot of sense. I've always kind of wondered that when I was a kid. I was like, so if they automatically go to heaven if they don't hear this, why do we like make sure that they do it so we can make sure that they have a chance of going to hell? I never did understand that.
Yeah. Well, religion has terrible, horrible philosophy entailed in it, usually. I mean, the only religions, and I don't even consider Buddhism a religion, or some of the Hindu stuff is not necessarily religion in my view. It's more philosophy. And so they spend a great deal emphasizing philosophical thought. But if you look at like Western religions like Christianity, Islam, Judaism, the philosophies are like nil. They have no logical connections.
Yeah, the one good thing about Judaism, though, is it's not a proselytizing,
right,
religion. Like they don't go out and try to convert people to Judaism. I mean, like I could become a Jew, like religiously, but I would have to, like I would have to go through a lot of steps. I mean, you have to convince you, and you have to go take all this, this different. There's a whole process involved. Is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually convert to Judaism, but like it's very hard, and they don't they don't try to get people to do that.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's the ironic thing. Like, a lot of Christians, they always appeal to the 10 commandments and things like that, and it's like, well, really, that really wasn't for you. Those laws were to set them aside from you, actually.
Yeah, and there's 613, not 10.
Well, yeah, they always do that. Oh, it's the 10 commandments. Like, no, bitch, it's 613.
They cherry pick out the ones they are. I just wonder why they kept the one. I don't know that there's that 10 is listed as a set, but I think there's like 2 other sets of 10 that are not the exact same 10.
Yeah,
mentioned in the Bible, so I'm not sure why they came to that.
Moses, didn't he accidentally drop one of the ships?
Yeah, it started out 15. No, yeah.
Clumsy motherfucker.
That was in the history of the world part 1 or whatever. What was his name? The guy that did those movies.
Yep. I forget his name now, but yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah. I think
he did the Frankenstein movie.
He did like Blazing Saddles too. Remember?
Yeah, Blazing Saddles was great, and I can't think of it right now. I used to love his movies.
Yeah, he made some funny movies. Blazing Saddles is
classic.
Like but like it's sort of. I mean, it comes across as racist, but it actually was kind of mocking racist people.
Right,
right. Like, just sort of like
Mel Brooks. Thank you, X Music.
Mel Brooks, yes. Sort of like the movie that had Rob Reiner, or the show that had Rob Reiner in it with I can't even think of his name, Archie Bunker. You know what I mean? Archie Bunker was like the guy, the real guy that played Archie Bunker was just a radical liberal. You know what I mean? He was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and he was, and people did not understand that show was mocking those people. Like my papa used to love that. My papa was Archie Bunker. Like he was Archie Bunker, except he was even lazier than Archie Bunker. So
and the flip side to that sitcom was the Black Family,
the Jeffersons.
The Jeffersons, yeah.
Oh, I love the Jeffersons. I love the Jeffersons.
And the dad in that one was kind of racist against white people,
Yeah, I love the Jeffersons though. I swear that was awesome. Those shows wouldn't even they wouldn't even be allowed on TV now.
I know, man. We can't take it no more. We're such pussies, man. We can't
But
do it.
people misunderstand. I mean, they misunderstand. I know, but it made it served its purpose of you know n- bringing normalizing something that people were having a lot of trouble with at that time of seeing black people on TV. You know what I
But
mean?
you know, when those
it was just
shows, you could tell when those shows were about to finally come to an end, because they always started to do these special shows that were supposed to highlight social issues, and they would make
yeah.
like these corny little shows that were supposed to see racism is bad or whatever. That's when you knew the shit was over, because it just became so, I don't know what it is. People got turned off from that. But that's when you knew the shit was about to come to an end, because whenever they started those special shows, it's like that's when people started tuning out. You know,
Well,
I
he
think,
like the guy that played Archie Bunker. He went on to do a police show, and
yeah, in the
I
heat
can't
of the
remember.
night. Yeah.
Yeah, in the heat of the night, and in heat of the night addressed racism a lot too.
Hmm. Yeah, I like
Um,
that show too a lot. Back in the
yeah, that's a
90s,
good
80s.
show.
Yeah, 80s. Yeah, man. But yeah, and I don't know, man. They don't even have. I don't think they even have much. I don't know. Well, of course, I don't watch really TV anymore. I just do this shit
Nah,
all the time.
there's nothing like that on TV anymore. Not nothing worth watching. Not like that. Like those
No,
are good
man.
shows.
Yeah, I might watch them on review still. Like I usually at night turn those old shows on. That's how
I
old,
watched.
because I'm an old fuck, as
Yeah,
opposed to an old fart. Like I'm not an old fart yet, because I'm, old farts barely walk around. I'm not there yet. I'm getting there. I'm just an
yeah.
old fuck. So I watch old sitcoms.
I do watch. I do watch, and then this is, and I found it is pretty bad. Like Gunsmoke.
Hmm.
I've always been a Gunsmoke, but no,
Yeah.
something like after I got older, and I don't know, I started watching Heather Cox Richardson, which is she's an American historian who talks about different parts of our history in America. I never realized how accurate this was. She talks about the ideal of the cowboy is a lot of stuff, a lot of things, ways that the Confederacy kept their ideal alive. And so, if you watch Gunsmoke, or you watch um, what is the one that's got the Ponderosa on it? I can't with
Meanwhile, back at the
The
ranch.
Cartwright, the Cartwrights, the Hoss Cartwright and Joe and
Yeah.
Adam. Okay,
Uh-huh.
in those
Uh-huh.
shows, if you pay attention to that now, and I never noticed it before, there is a anti-northern
Bonanza.
pro-Confederacy, yeah, Bonanza, pro-Confederacy theme that runs through both of those shows all the time.
Really? I didn't even notice that.
Yes, I didn't notice
Wow.
it either. I never noticed it either, but until Heather Richardson started explaining that ideal to me. And now when I watch it, I can't hardly stand to see that, because like they treat it like they always make like anybody that was like on the, if they show something that about somebody coming from the war, it's always the Confederacy people who are the good people, and anybody that fought for the North was a traitor. And it's really backwards.
It's kind of like way back when I used to watch what was that? Damn, fuck. Now with Tonto and
Oh, the Lone
uh
Ranger.
Lone Ranger, there you go. And they used to always make the Indians look like the bad guys.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely the Indians. Yes, the Indians were always. But yeah, and it. But I watch now because I know my dad grew up watching, Gunsmoke, and like a whole bunch of people here did. And this is
Hmm.
why that they have this idea in their head that the South was, mistreated. You know what I mean? is because of these shows that have done this for years and years, have portrayed it this way. And like the state of Texas, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure the whole state of Texas was brainwashed through Gunsmoke, probably into believing that they were cheated in the thing. You know, it doesn't ever mention the fact that, you know, they were, you know, fighting for slavery. It just acts like that they were just mistreated by the North. So it's pretty interesting stuff how it brainwashed a whole society, a whole generation of people or two.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a huge psyop, man. It's like, it's all psychological operations at work to mold people. I mean, really, and some of it's for well-intentioned reasons and some not. Like, you know, how they say, oh, Hollywood is just liberal. You know, they try to bring wokeness into the movies. And well, when have they never done that? They've always reflected the culture of the time, you know, the cutting edge culture of the time, or not, or even just the traditional values of the culture, you know. That's what TV and entertainment, that's part of what it does, I think, is it tries to relate to people. That's why it's successful, you know.
Yeah, well, I would say definitely, you know, if you think that,
it ain't gonna work.
I would say if you think that the left has an agenda in Hollywood, then you're missing the whole idea of you know, like the Gunsmoke and you know, all that of what they were trying to do, because it definitely wasn't in a left agenda, but it was definitely an agenda.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I remember people like my grandma would watch, like, X Music Says Gone with the Wind completely glosses over slavery too. Like, my grandma would say, yeah, I really wish I could live back in the days of Gone with the Wind. It's like, yeah, but not if you were a black person.
My daughter is named after Scarlett O'Hara's plantation. Tara. I mean, that's her name. And she's not, I mean, I spell it the same way they did, Tara. And that's what she's named after, you know. And the thing about it is until I became aware, I guess, like, she's 20. So, you know, I mean, after she got old enough to really study history, she came to me and was like, you do realize that you named me after a slave plantation. You know what I mean? Like, and she's the reason I'm an atheist too. So, because she's the one that, you know, told me that I need to stop believing in bullshit. Because after I left Christianity, I became a witch. And I was very deep into the
what made you go to witchcraft from Christianity?
Well, it was weird. It was just a really weird thing that happened. I had some shit going on in my life, and I fell asleep one day. I was at my boss's house, and I would go there and stay because I lived so far away, and I would stay at his house in between runs. And I fell asleep in the chair watching TV, YouTube. And I woke back up, and there was some kind of movie on about twin flames. You know what those are? It's like the ideal that when a soul was created or whatever, it's split into two, and it's separated, and you have reincarnation. These two soul, like these two fires that are one soul. They're like put into different individuals, and you go through all these different lives of trying to work out. It's just a whole big mess of karma and reincarnation and struggles of trying to be together and not wanting to be together, and it's just a mess. I swear, it's a whole line of bullshit that goes beyond religion.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It
sounds like a lot of
kind of
beliefs.
got me all. Yeah, it kind of got me all stirred up in that for some reason, and then it just progressed to where, like, I was convinced I had powers, and rocks had. You already see all the rocks I own. I own like thousands of like rocks.
How long did you identify as a witch?
About 4 years.
Oh, wow. So what was it that kept you in? Did you see any, did you find
Oh
any
yes.
confirmation?
Oh yes, confirmation bias everywhere. The one
Mm.
thing about woo really focuses on is what they call synchronicities and
Uh-huh.
patterns. You
Mhm.
become, I mean, humans are already pattern seekers. Okay. But woo, like, just drives you just into a single minded pattern seeking mode. Like you're constant, and I'll tell you something, and it still amazes me because I still laugh every time it does it. A I see like almost any time that I open up my phone or look at it like mentally to see what time it is, it will be 11:11 on my phone, and it still happens daily. Like it
Mhm.
is something that just continuously happens throughout my life. 11:11. Of course, now I just kind of giggle when it's there. You know what I mean? Like, because and the thing about it is I only notice it when it says 11:11. I don't notice it when it says 4:03 or 2:10 but when it says 11:11, it like I focus in on that, which I kind of giggle now because I realize that but woo is just about pattern seeking, like times, it's like multiplied.
Yeah, like counting the hits and not the misses type shit.
Which I think all belief and stuff like that, it pretty much is. But I
Mhm.
believe that woo is even more super focused on it because it celebrates the idea of synchronicities and and you just look for patterns everywhere. You just become a pattern seeking machine, and
Mhm.
and you just attribute all kinds of
Yeah, like they
things to
perceive a
that pattern.
connection that's not random or something, like it's a meaningful thing.
Yes, yes. Everything is a message. You know what I mean? Like every synchronicity that you see is a message. And some people are sort of like that with their God belief too. You know what I mean? They see,
Mhm.
but like,
Mhm.
but I'm worse. I mean, like my mom is a super devout Christian, and when I was practicing witchcraft, I was way more focused on patterns of stuff like that than she ever has been. You know what I mean? Like I was seeing messages from the universe in everything that happened every day.
And part of woo to me is also like vagueness, like how they
Oh
always
yeah.
like how they say, "Oh, I believe in energy." Well, what the fuck do you mean by energy?
Yeah, no,
Like,
I was more like I was convinced it was scientific. I was just convinced which there's a lot of people out there packaging it and selling it that make it sound really good. But like the idea that for spell casting is you have energy in your body and you build that energy up. Like a lot of like heavens will drum, like they'll drum or dance, and that they
mhm.
build up energy, in your, like in the body or something like that when you dance. And if you cast like a circle around where that's happening, then that's just that much power that's building up in that circle, which is and you build up to what they call a cone of power, and then you release it. Like there's a certain steps that you take to release it, and all this is done through like mental, like seeing it, creating this in your mind. You would see this power and maybe some little salt involved for your circle. But it all seems so, yeah, it seems real when you get, it's really easy it's confirmation bias, like times. I think it's just so much easier to like fall into it than even religion is.
Yeah. And like for me, just to kind of give a little background on myself, like um I've went through phase, like probably most people, you go through phases in life. Like I had my strong dogmatic religious phase early on. Then I grew out of that and I became like the angry atheist phase. And then I
Yeah.
became like the relaxed agnostic phase, the agnostic atheist phase. And then I became more wanted to investigate the paranormal and the woo stuff. but I did it at a distance. I never really embraced it. I just wanted, because I was at the point where I'd already went through religion and stuff. So I knew better than to just embrace it wholesale. I just
Yeah.
wanted to kind of investigate it from an open mind, not necessarily like all in type shit. So,
Yeah.
and I did that with indie ears. Like I used to be part of the Association of Near-Death Studies, and I used to hold meetings once a week and go to these
Yeah.
meetings and interview people. And my only thing was to learn. Like I just wanted to interview people, figure out what was really going on. Because it fascinating. You know, all this stuff is fascinating, you know, no matter what the real explanation is. Like if it turns out it's all natural, which I believe, that's enough for me. That's fucking fascinating, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
wanted to be fascinated. But I wanted the fascination to come from something I could resonate with, meaning it had to be realistic for me. Like, I don't want beliefs. I want something, I don't know how to say it, but I just wanted, because you can't really get at truth with a lot of things, but I just wanted something I could really understand, you know? And I kind of got that. So what I kind of walked away from is that even if like a certain woo-woo claim is false, these are usually based in half-truths. So there's like practical psychological principles at play with things like, say, like manifestation. And you know how like in woo-woo they'll say, well, if you imagine it strongly and feel strong about it, it will happen magically. Or if you think positive, it will create reality for you. Or you can attract any, like the law of attraction type shit.
See, when I the like in the witchcraft that like where I got into, which I was what they call a solitary practitioner, which means I wasn't part of a coven. I wasn't in Wicca. I did check out Wicca at first, but I just didn't feel any connection to the deities of Wicca. Because I actually used I actually ended up doing like ceremonial magic, which is sort of got a lot of Hebrew and stuff in it. And I did planetary magic. I just felt more connection to like I felt more connection to the Greek gods than I did any other gods. And so you would like use their energy and stuff. But it was I didn't believe that I could manifest something just through magic. I like my idea was that you had to work towards that goal too. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't just sit in the house and want a job and send out energy for a job, and a job was not going to come knocking on your door. You had to actually get out and put in applications for a job, and the magic would assist you once you got out and did that work too, which is, you know what I mean, which, you know, come to find out, I now believe that it was just me getting out and putting applications in or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm just using that as an example because I always
Well,
had a job. But like if you had a goal of money, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't just sit at home and do spells for money. I had to actually get out and do something to create money, my chance to make money. And the magic would just assist me in that goal. Like it would make it let go, you know, which was, yeah, because I didn't believe I could just poof stuff into existence. Like,
yeah. Like, you know, what I kind of learned is like it can still be useful. Like what I've come to learn, and it's actually become like a strength for me. Like it's like, I'll give you an example. Like um for the past 5 years, I had a really good job. Um, you know, had pretty good money, got to go on vacations all the time, do all kinds of stuff I never got to do before that. Because I used to be in a marriage where I was the only one working, and I had 2 kids living in California, which is super expensive.
oh
A wife
my,
who I had like a trophy wife who was refused to work and shit. And finally it just got horrible, and I was always broke, had to work 3 jobs to make it. And we were living paycheck from paycheck. And finally she got tired of that shit. And she betrayed me or whatever. So I left.
Oh,
had to
I'm
leave.
sorry, Scott.
Had to leave that situation. But the good news is when I came down here to Florida from California, you know, I landed a great job, and all of a sudden I had extra money like I've never seen before, huge savings account, you know, living in a house, living in, you know, and manageable. I'm not bragging or anything. I'm saying I live way below my means. Like, I'm a big believer in live below your means. Not even, that's just me. Like, that's my personal, like, because you never know what's going to happen down the road. So you want to live, you know, you want to be.
Single men are a little better at like living simply.
Yeah. And like all those hard times taught me, man, be humble. No matter how much money you have, don't try to be too fancy, man. Try to keep it manageable just in case. And that paid off for me, right? Because recently I lost my job about 8 months ago.
Uh-huh.
And I haven't been able to find a job since. And so I've just been eking by, doing whatever I can do, odd jobs here and there, you know, just whatever I can do to make money. I've been doing for the last 8 months now. But the thing about that, though, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because now I'm relying on all those woo-woo teachings to get me through it, if you can believe that. So those woo-woo teachings, all those things about manifestation, positive thinking, all of those things has saved me. But when I say that, I don't mean that I now believe in magic or anything like that. What I mean to say is the half truth, the thing that I learned from the woo-woo stuff is that it's based in half truths. So I've discarded the dumb shit, and I just kept the other parts that are useful. And the parts that are, the positive thinking, the you know, the whole thing about if you put the negative out of your mind, you won't manifest, because that's true. If I focus on negative bullshit, for some reason I'm always involved in negative bullshit. But for some reason, whenever I'm thinking like doing this podcast and talking about, you know, better things and positive things and making friends and good conversations, it seems like life is easier. It seems like life is manageable. I'm not stressed. In fact, I'm just as peaceful as I was when I was making a lot of money at the job. I'm even more so, because now I don't have to put up with all that corporate bullshit anymore. You know what I mean?
It keeps you in a good headspace. Hey,
so it's like, man, so it's like there's parts of the woo-woo stuff that works. So you can't just throw out the baby with the bathwater, I guess is what I'm saying.
Hey, Scott, I'm gonna have to go. I just realized it was 2:00.
Okay.
You watch Skeptic Philosophy, don't you?
Yes. Yes.
His show just is starting right now with Leo.
Yeah, at 2:00. That's right.
And I don't mean to drag nobody off of your show. I'm sorry.
I wanted to actually check it out too, because I'm about to end this stream. I wanted to jump in and check it out too.
Yeah. And I wanted you to know I added you. Like, I went through my channel yesterday and like swapped around a lot of my featured like channels, and I added your channel on there on one of my featured channels and stuff. And I've been trying to call you out, like give you a shout out every time I stream. I don't have a lot of followers, but you know.
Yeah, I jumped on your stream the other day. I
appreciate you coming in there. I'm always glad to see you in there. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I jump in so many different streams because that's all I do now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've recently kind of left the little group that I was like sort of involved with on YouTube and sort of adopted a different little crowd. And so I was just trying to get us all built up. But I appreciate you and Sophia both so much. I love that.
Hell yeah, man. And I'm gonna pop over there, so you'll probably see me now. I'm about to end this stream too. Plus, we pretty much beat this dead horse. So
yeah.
So we're about wrapping up on that. But yeah, man, thanks again for everybody coming through. Thanks, Robin, for jumping in, man. I appreciate and everybody's support and out in the live chat. I really appreciate you dropping in comments and stuff like that. So yeah, man, let's head on over to Skeptic Haven and check out what's going on over there. And let me see if I have the link and I can drop it in case one of you guys may be interested in that. Here we go. They're going to be talking about the problem of evil. And let me just drop in the link. They haven't started just yet. There we go. Wow, that's a big ass fucking thing. But yeah, click on that link right there. And yeah, anyways, I'm gonna go over there. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. And tomorrow I'm gonna have the open debate thing that I started. So it'll be an open debate. Hopefully I won't go on for 8 hours like I did last week. But yeah, we usually argue physicalism versus idealism and stuff. So later on, guys, later, Joe, we'll talk to you guys later. And till tomorrow, peace out. Bye-bye.